There we go. Okay. So welcome everybody. I'm Linda Wright and happy to be here with you today for the ONLC's webinar. They reached out to us and we decided we definitely could do something, and we thought we would put together a webinar. So it's navigating the new classroom experience in literacy. So a little bit, we just talked a little bit about it, but just if you do notice that tools are missing, please just scroll down to the bottom of your screen and they should pop up. We will be trying to monitor chat as we go through here. I'm going to ask my co-presenters who I'll be introducing in just a minute to also maybe monitor that with me as well. There's a lot of things going on here on the screen, so I'd appreciate that. And if you do have, should be another little icon there that has reactions, and there's some clapping, there's some thumbs up. Feel free to use those as we go through as well. Feel free to ask questions as we go through. If there is a raise a hand icon, we will try to keep our eyes out for it. Chat might be the easiest way. And also we're going to give you all our contact information as well, because we're hoping that you guys are going to reach out to us with any questions that you might have as well. So this is a two-part session. And I don't know, Michelle, I just see you were putting something in chat. Did you want to say anything before we get started here? Just a second here. Poor connections, though I must stay on no video. Okay, did you want to say anything before we got started though, Michelle? Okay, I'm gonna say that's a no. And what we'll do, if you do at any time, Michelle, please do feel free to let me know. So this is a two-part session, and today what our plan is to give you an overview of blended learning, registration, and what is offered. In the next week, and the next week we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some specific examples and ways to engage your learners, including the low-level learners, which putting this presentation together, I knew that there was some great stuff happening out there, but I learned about a bunch more stuff that's happening, and I'm really excited that we get to share that with you a little bit this week, but definitely next week we'll talk about some of those specific examples and what people are doing with their learners, and just some really neat things that are happening. So today we're going to talk about who we are. We're going to talk a little bit about eChannel. Types of courses that we offer, some Indigenous content that we do have, registration, CAMs, and the blended learner, because everybody loves CAMs, and then we'll have some time for questions. But as I said, as we go through, please feel free to use the text chat or reach out to us. So who we are. So I pulled in some of my team today because I think that they are really the people that you guys get to talk to a lot of the time. And so I'm excited that they're able to join us. We've been in online learning for about over 40 years combined. So I'm the Director of Distance Projects with Sue Hudson Literacy Council and Good Learning Anywhere. Julie is joining us today, and she's an online educator and cultural content and Edmonton lead. Sue is joining us, and she is our event manager and online educator and the voice on the other end of the phone when you call. And Robin's here today too. She's our database administration and our resident CAMS expert. So Good Learning Anywhere, we provide free online distance learning opportunities for adult Ontario. And we assist them with their reading, writing, math, computer, and other essential skills. Our mission is to provide culturally supportive, flexible environment for First Nations, Aboriginal, Métis, and Inuit individuals, communities, and organizations striving to improve their skills in order to improve the quality of life at home, at work, and in the community. These are some of our core values, definitely important to us, and we strive to meet these. Respect for everybody. They should be treated fairly regardless of their race, gender, beliefs, age, religion, ability, sexual orientation, or economic means. We strive to make our programs accessible. And we're committed as an organization to and believe that learning is something that happens lifelong. We look for partnerships to work collaboratively and in partnership with other community agencies, ministries, businesses, and education organizations to build a more literate society. Just a bit of a snapshot of who we serve. This is the Northern Ontario, and then putting it into the top right corner, you'll also see all of Ontario. So this was last fiscal year. We were able to pull data just and what communities we had clients coming from. And so we are an LBS agency, and I'll talk a little bit about how we fit into LBS, but we also run an on-site learning center in Sioux Lookout, Ontario. So go to Thunder Bay, continue 4 hours west, and then go north for an hour and you'll find our learning center there. So we have a foot in both worlds, not only on site and in the community, but we're also running the Good Learning Anywhere program. Just doing a little check to see if I missing anybody coming in here. Okay, I don't see any notes of anybody admitting, so I'm hoping that means I'm not missing anybody. Okay. So e-channel, and I'm hoping this is something people have heard of at this point. If you're new to the field, maybe not, but e-channel is an initiative by the ministry to provide online learning opportunities for adults across Ontario. So there are 5 organizations. There's ACE Distance, Deaf Learn Now, Formation à Distance, Good Learning Anywhere, and the Learning Hub. And together, that group creates the e-channel program supported by Contact North. How we fit into that is we are the Aboriginal stream for that program. And so we work together to come up with different initiatives, to put together projects, communicate with the ministry, but we also are independent programs. So how I like to kind of say it to people is it's kind of like colleges, that while we work together, we have similar programs and that type of thing. We're our own little entity. And so we have people, when you register with Good Learning Anywhere, you're a part of that. And lack of a better word, we're not a college, we don't offer college credits, but that kind of independent piece, right? And so, well, there are maybe both programs offer science, they might be different from each of those programs. And so you would register for that particular organization. The other thing I wanted to point out is that the echannel.ca website, Sarah and her crew do a fantastic job, and there's a lot of resources for blended learning there as well. So I do encourage you to check this out, and we will somehow post these slides or send them out afterwards, and there is a link in this slide for you to check that out as well. So March 2020 is a month that none of us are ever going to forget. And it really has flipped our field, thrown us a little bit of a curveball. We're used to it. If you're in LBS, you're used to change. You are definitely used to being flexible, being nimble, all those words. I think that's one thing we're really great at in our field. And so, but COVID has really thrown up a few challenges for us, and especially being able to deliver face-to-face. And now Ontario's gone into our second lockdown. And I know those challenges are only growing, but we've seen some amazing resilience again from our programs and some really great ideas on ways that we've committed to continuing to reach our clients. It always amazes me. I always say that you guys have the toughest job, being in the classroom. We're behind a computer, but you guys are right in there every day. And so we really appreciate the work that you do. Alpha Plus did a pop-up webinar back in June, I believe. I think I saw Monica pop in here. But they did a really neat job they did a survey with the on-site programs, and then they had a pop-up PD, and I put the link in here as well. If you haven't seen it, there's some really great tools in there. But the one thing that really popped out to me is they were taking a look at plans and adjustments, and the one line that I really pulled out was, others are rethinking their models to include more blended learning in a long run, or even shifting to a different setup. And so we've talked about blended learning for a long time in the field. And when we're thinking about blended learning, it always kind of looked like this, okay? Is the aspect that there's LBS and there's eChannel, and in there is that learner. But I really feel that since March 2020, we're looking at a bit of a different model. We're looking at not only eChannel and LBS, but we're also looking at that learner at home now. So there's another whole aspect to that. They may not be able to get into your site all the time. So how do we work together as a team to really support blended learning for that client? And when I see this, I look and I say, wow, what a challenge. And we don't want to lose those learners that we work so hard to build relationships with, and we want to look at ways to continue to do that. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to show you a little bit about what we have. And I know that each of your programs are so very different. And if I create a unique webinar for you guys and there's 20 people in here, it would be 20 different plans. It'd be 20 different things, because you guys all have really amazing communities, amazing programs, amazing strengths. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give you information. I'm going to introduce you to some of my team, and I'm hoping that you're going to take some notes and you're going to have questions for us. You're going to contact us and say, okay, this really stood out for me. How can I implement this in my program? And that's what I'm really hoping you're going to get out of the program today. So I'm going to turn it over to my first team member, Julie, and she's going to talk a bit about some of the types of courses that you can find online with Good Learning Anywhere. Julie?
So good afternoon, everybody. I am Julie Mallon with GLA now for 10 years. First off, I'm just going to quickly ask if you do have your participant window open, if you have found your raise hand option, I'm just going to ask if you can raise your hand if you know of some of the courses that we do have on offer. Just kind of get a sense of who does and is not familiar with our programs and services. So we got a couple hands going up. I see a couple of familiar names here too, which is nice. So a few people have raised their hands. Perhaps some people are still new to Zoom, and I am too. So don't feel like you are one of the few. I think there's still quite a few of us who are learning all these different online systems, and so true for people who are on-site practitioners and learners in an on-site situation. And again, what Linda mentioned too with the pandemic and having those learners at home, it becomes even more difficult to try and support those learners. So we really have to be, those terms she used, the nimbleness, the ability to be flexible and pivot has become probably one of the best skills that we have. So I'm here today to talk to you about some of the types of courses that GLA offers. If you're not familiar with our programs, our website, www.goodlearninganywhere.com. Visit that website. There is a section in the upper right where there is a link to our courses. It gives you a quick overview of the different types of courses, those courses being live courses or independent courses. We have 4 separate learning platforms for learners. One of those is the Adobe Connect platform, the live courses. These are scheduled courses at specific times on specific days. GLA typically schedules their live courses from Tuesdays through Thursdays. Morning sessions run from 10:30 to 12:30, afternoon sessions from 1:30 to 3:30. And there are occasionally courses and different special events that might be scheduled outside of these hours. So things that like we have a sharing circle that we'll talk a little bit more about, and our open houses. But that is typically, when those courses are taking place, mornings and afternoons from Tuesdays to Thursdays. Um, we So the live courses is the Adobe Connect platform, and then the other three independent platforms consist of Edmentum, Moodle, and then another one, SpellZone. So within the Edmentum platform, we have 23 separate courses. Many of those courses have multiple sections, and you can find courses within that platform, as well as our Moodle platform, that are related and connected to the various pathways: employment, independence, essential skills, apprenticeship, post-secondary, secondary. And so 23 Edmentum courses are available. Those courses, what we found is that we wanted to break them down a little bit. So those courses have multiple sections to them. Sometimes they have multiple sections. And you do have the ability, working with the GLA mentor, to say, okay, well, I think I'd like them to take this particular section, or the learner has expressed an interest in this particular portion of the course. Can they just do that one? Absolutely. We're going to work with you to the best of our ability to help you meet those learners' goals. With the multiple sections, what we found is that learners are now able to kind of complete those courses a little bit better. It's working, they're working through the content a little bit on a more regular basis, because it's not a bunch of content that is overwhelming to them, which helps to engage your student, give them that sense of completion, boost their self-esteem, to know that they're achieving course content. Our Moodle short courses, again, too, have run the gamut of different pathways. And I'll talk a little bit more about some of those courses that you see right now on the screen. Our short courses in Moodle, we have 31 of them. So we have a lot of courses on offer for on-sites to help you with your learners' goals. The last independent platform that we have is SpellZone. SpellZone is an independent online resource that's aimed to help improve learner spelling. So that is one that, again, you are select from our registration page, and you have that mentor assigned to you. Sue's going to talk a little bit more about the whole registration aspect after my piece. But here's a selection, the slide that you see here. There's just a short selection of some of our live Adobe Connect classes. We have things like the third side, conflict resolution, filling out online forms, selection of the independent classes. We have 4 directions parenting, gearing up for apprenticeship, do I2T, introduction to 3D printing. So if you're not familiar with our online courses, I do, suggest that you visit our website, have a look at the courses on offer. We have a lot. I can't believe sometimes how many we do have on offer. Does anybody have any questions on any of those courses or the platforms that I mentioned? Nothing I see as of yet. Going once, going twice. All right, next slide. Thank you. If you're not sure where to start, as I said, having so many choices sometimes can be a bit overwhelming for anybody, especially with our learners. Sometimes the biggest step for them is taken. Sometimes the biggest step taken is them coming to their center or reaching out for somebody to say, hey, I could use some help. This is what I'd like to do. So that can be an overwhelming feeling for a learner. And sometimes they just need to be pointed in a direction to say, hey, well, what about this? Where can I start? Well, we do have what we have termed as bundles, two bundles in particular that we have put together. One is employment. So this bundle basically is a selection of courses that have related content to help your learner get started. So the employment bundle, and then we have what I would term as an independent bundle. Well, here it's healthy living. So those pieces, those courses that you see there are more for somebody perhaps on an independent pathway, or again, just a place to start out. Get them interested in online learning, get them familiar with online learning. Our bundles try to incorporate various platforms, so not all of them, but a couple courses from different platforms that we have. Sorry, Linda, can you just go back there? I'm just kind of catching up here. We will be talking a little bit more about bundles, I believe, in part 2. But there is the opportunity, you know, if you have a learner who, you know, has some goals, specific goals in mind, there's nothing stopping us working together with you and the learner themselves to kind of develop your own bundle of courses that would work for that particular client's goals. So for instance, if an individual is interested in entrepreneurship, then the mentor might suggest starting with the Be Your Own Boss series of courses, and perhaps paired with the Tech for Work or the customer service course. So that's where that blended piece comes in, working together with not only our learner, but you as the on-site and one of our staff as the mentor, to really kind of individualize what the content that your learner can begin with when it comes to their online learning. We do have posters regarding those bundles that are available. We can send them out to you if it would be useful for you to have those to share. So I mentioned when I first talked about our special events or different events that we have. And one thing that we've started to do is offer these open houses. Our next open house is happening January 25th. And again, the open houses are an opportunity to introduce people that are new to online learning. So it kind of introduces them to how it takes place. It can introduce them to online learning specifically with GLA. They are scheduled on Mondays. They will be held throughout the year. And the one key piece that we thought is great for somebody new to online learning is that there's no registration. Okay, it's just a place for you to come in, for the learner to come in, get a sense of what online learning is about, learn a little bit about our organization. Because there's no organization, there's always something fun taking place as well. We try to make these sessions as engaging as possible, whether it's an online game. We had a Halloween makeup tutorial in the fall and another Christmas concert with live musical guests. So we're really trying to keep that engagement happening to really grab that learner's interest, get their attention and say, oh, I didn't realize, you know, that this is what online learning can look like, but it can. And a lot of people who are new to this, really, it can open up their eyes. Any questions on our open houses or the bundles? All right. So as the Aboriginal lead for eChannel, GLA strives to create culturally relevant content. In the past 6 months, we've launched a number of new Indigenous-based courses to complement our regularly updated courses. In my role as the cultural content lead, I try to ensure that we are developing content that is going to not only reflect our Indigenous participants, but also help to educate the wider society. We've had a lot of interest in many of these courses from different people from different backgrounds, whether they're newcomers, whether they're Indigenous people who have not grown up with any cultural teachings. Um, and I think, I'm hoping that they continue to help others learn a little bit more about not only themselves, but other cultures as well. So 7 Teaching, 7 Fires, that's an upcoming class next week. We have the Mohawk language for beginners. So the Mohawk language was originally developed by ONLC with Candace Squires, helped to develop the curriculum, and ONLC helped facilitate that. And we will be having part 1 of the Mohawk language course. So it's going to be a series of 5 courses. I believe it's weekly. Is it weekly? Yes, weekly. Starting January 26th at 4 p.m. So that's one event that's taking place a little bit later in the day. Because Candace Squire, she's our Mohawk language instructor. She's our guest instructor. So we wanted to do our best to work within her schedule. She also has other obligations, and 4 o'clock was what she felt was going to work for her. So we did our best to facilitate that. The Mohawk language, when we did offer it in 2019, was when we first debuted it, and was it was very well received then. So we felt we needed to put this back into the rotation. We also have upcoming another session of the Anishinaabemowin course with Barb Nolan. We just debuted that, piloted that, and again, it was another ONLC partnership. Barb developed the curriculum, ONLC helped facilitate that, and GLA helped to offer it as the course. Open houses are usually Adobe Connect. Linda, is it just through our website that people sign up for that again?
Hi, Julie. Yeah, so with that, our open house, we're going to try it with Zoom this time. Again, things are changing all the time. And so I believe I do have a poster coming up, but I believe if you email Warren, he'll send out the Zoom link, and I think we'll probably be posting it as well on our Facebook. So, but I'll definitely circulate that information on how you sign up for it. Oh, so the open house. Sorry, not sharing circle. Amanda, let me get back to you on that one. Or Sue's here. She might know if we're doing open house in Zoom or Adobe.
No, I believe that one's still being offered in the Adobe platform. So yes, it's Adobe, and there will be a link, and we usually provide a link on our Facebook.
Great question, Amanda. Thanks for addressing that, Sue. So I was just finishing up about our Anishinaabemowin offering. So we offered that in the fall and it was another well-received curriculum course. So we are going to be offering that again. And again, what we always try to, what am I saying? We always try to, take into consideration the feedback that we get from our learners. So one of the ways that we've done that is to break those courses up a touch. There's a lot of information. Even though they are beginner classes, there are definitely people in those courses who are taking part who have never heard the language, never, are very new to it. So to break it down into smaller sections, again, just kind of is less overwhelming for our learners. So both those courses, we haven't looked yet, but I'm sure we're going to be looking at offering our part 2 Mohawk later on in the year. The Anishinaabemowin course, again, will be broken down in parts 1 and part 2. And that's happening later in our winter term, the Anishinaabemowin. So if you are interested, or if you know of people who will be interested, look out for that. Make sure you follow our Facebook pages. But when it comes to our Indigenous content, we have so much content now. It's overwhelming sometimes. I'm glad to see it. From our ever popular Exploring Ontario First Nations courses to 4 Directions Parenting, Indigenous Peoples of Canada, and 7 Teaching, 7 Fires, woodland art and artists. There is a lot of Indigenous-based content to choose from. We also try our best to incorporate Indigenous teachings and knowledge within a variety of our other courses and content as well. So Linda, Amanda, if Linda was actually, when she was talking about registering and emailing Warren, she was referring to our upcoming sharing circle. So our sharing circles have always been very popular. And this year is no different. These two are an informal way to introduce your online live sessions to interested learners who might be on the fence about online learning. So our January 18th session, it's going to be a live cooking session. I'm looking forward to this. I'm thinking I might have to get my headset on and maybe use my phone, I guess, perhaps, and get those ingredients for the recipes that Candace Eskimo is going to be sharing with us. So she's going to be cooking live online with us, which is quite exciting. It's not something that we have tried before. Tried the food, but just not live online cooking. So we'll see how that goes. If you are interested, but for sure, what you're going to do is you're going to email Warren, or you are also able to sign up for this sharing circle on our website as well. There is a specific place on our website itself that talks about the sharing circle and where you just enter your email to sign up for it. And that is, I believe that is it for me. I'm going to pass the torch. Thank you.
Thanks, Julie. Again, this is, I really appreciate you kind of going over this courses, and Julie said it well when she said there's so much, it can almost be overwhelming sometimes. And what we want to do is just give you some ideas of what we do offer, and you'll see why it all kind of comes together at the end here, why we're doing that, because we know that there's this whole new way of you guys having to do business and to incorporate blended learning, and you guys know best what's right for your community, your learners, your program. And so we're just giving you kind of glimpses of what's there. We'll give you links to other things, and we have a challenge for you at the end of today to kind of pull that all together. The next piece I wanted to bring into this was registration, and why I want to do this is because we serve we're a part of the LBS program. We have the same requirements as you guys do. The registration, the assessment, the follow-up, that all happens too through GLA. And when a blended learner comes in, there's ways that we can we've been working really hard to make that not easier on the learner, but also the practitioner and GLA, and finding ways to work together. It's a process, and the way CAMS has come together, there was maybe opportunities for that to be a bit more seamless, and unfortunately it didn't happen. And so we've been trying at GLA to figure out ways to do that. And one thing to keep in mind is we have over 1,200 learners that come through our program each year. And some of those learners come to us with no supports. They live somewhere without a learning center, and they registered with us. And so we're their only LBS support. And then we have people that maybe go to an LBS center. They can't make it during the hours you have, and so they're referred on to eChannel, and we kind of work with them. And then we have those clients that you are working with so hard, and you're going through the process, and we're going to bring blended learning into that as well. And we're going to be part of that group that supports that. And that's really that model I was showing before. And so, but when we get the registration, we don't know what type of learner that is. And so I asked Sue to come today because she's got some tips. She's going to show you our registration. And when we're now working with that learner in that new kind of 3-circle model that I showed you, where we're trying to support that learner, both maybe from a distance, if it continues the way it does right now, and maybe there's ways we're trying to make that easier. So Sue's going to talk to you a little bit about registration and some tips on how to set that up for success on all our sides. So I'll turn it over to Sue.
Thanks, Linda. As you well know, since COVID, we've seen definitely a spike here at Good Learning Anywhere in registrations. We've always had our typical learners registering, they might leave us for a little bit and then come back, but we've definitely seen a spike in new learners and new on-sites. So with that comes a lot of new questions and the same questions. And we have tried to gear our registration to get some feedback and make it as simple as possible process. We basically have had a new updated system. We are always updating, just like you guys on site, we're always updating. But I wanted to share with you a couple of things about our registration that hopefully will make sense to you. And once you see it, you'll be like, oh, that's actually really good. Okay, here we go. So the first thing you have to do when you are registering for a course, after you've looked up over our courses and things like that, and Linda, will you just go back just to that last slide? Sorry about that. You are going to go to our website, goodlearninganywhere.com, and you're going to click on one of those yellow circles, register for a course. Once you click on one of those circles, that will bring you to our course selection page. So that's what the learner first has to do, is to select the course they want. So
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
Sorry, that was my watch. um, so the first thing you want to do is using that filter. You see the filter at the top there. So if you kind of know you want like an Exploring First Nations course, put in the beginning, it'll bring up those courses. You want a math course, put in math, and it will bring up all the math courses. The other nice thing is once you basically put in, let's say the example is Exploring First Nations, you can actually view the description there. And you can also see what platform the course is being offered in. It can kind of be confusing at the very beginning. I know Julie had talked about the different platforms we offer. It comes off our fingers. We know exactly if they're independent or live or what have you, but this will give you another indication. So once you click on the view description, you will get that box that basically gives all the background information, like when the class starts, how many classes it is, what platform it's being offered on, and even the description of the course. Okay, so that's kind of helpful. Then what you would do is you would basically select the class. Okay, you've selected whatever course you want. You can select more than one at that point in time, but for simplicity, we'll just move on. Now the learner is going to register. Now, if they're we usually ask them to click that second button, I am a new or previously exited learner. And when they do that, they will have to fill out all those fields. The ones with the asterisks, they have to, they're mandatory fields. And we ask the learner, and if you're helping them, just to make up their own username and password. Okay, so that can be anything, right? It's totally up to the learner themselves. Once they finish all that information and submit it, they will get actually 2 emails back. One will be a confirmation, because sometimes, unfortunately, learners will actually put in an incorrect email address and then they won't receive it, right? So learners or yourselves, if you're helping them, if you're on site, but since they'll be at home, you'll basically tell them that they should receive 2 emails. One is a confirmation email saying, you know what, great, you've registered. You'll notice down below, a lot of people get confused with this. Down at the bottom here, it says Orban account details, username and password. Those are only to get back into our student information system. They are not to get into the courses. Okay, people, there, it does say that in the body of the email, but as you guys probably know, we all don't read the email totally, but that's only to get back into the portal for the student information system if they want to add a class or what have you. All right. The next email a learner would receive back is the course registration. So next slide, Linda. Yeah. The next one would be the course that they registered for, right? So if they've registered for 3 or 4, they should see them here. If they only registered for one and they wanted another one, don't worry, all is okay. They can then tell the mentor, once they've been given a mentor, they can let them know, oh, I want to be in the Exploring First Nations courses. Can you please sign me up? Easy as that. All right, next slide. So I wanted to give a couple of tips here, which I think are very valuable for blended learning. Um, if, as Julie had mentioned, we do have a lot of courses, and sometimes you're like, I wonder if that course is a good course for, you might know your learner. You can always go into our registration, just like we did with a learner, fill it out, but there is a question in the registration that says audit and review, and you would just click yes. Let me tell you, you do not have to put, you have to put a birth date, but don't worry, like we don't track that stuff. You can put a fictitious one for the instructor, what have you. I just like to have your name, your email, things like that on file, just because for feedback and stuff. But the whole thing here is that you can go in and audit a course and shadow a course and review it just to make sure it's something that you think that your learner might appreciate. Maybe that's the perfect level for them, or that material is not really what I wanted them to do. Okay, so no, as an on-site, you can always come in and audit any of our courses. The next registration tip is when you are talking with your learners, maybe on the phone, you would want to let them know on the registration form that there is a section towards the end, there's a consent to share. So if they are willing to put your name, so I have my name in here, where the practitioner and the email, if they can remember and they're willing to put your name there, we can communicate with you about this learner. This learner might be in contact with you saying, oh, I really wanted to take this one course. And you could say, oh, okay, well, let me, see if we can get you into it, or hopefully, usually the learner tries to do it through the mentor themselves. But even progress and things like that, you can contact the mentor, or you can just call the number to find out information regarding their courses and progress and things like that. But they have to have the consent to share, like your name in that consent to share section. Also with learners registering, we've also seen a lot of groups registering. So maybe some on sites have, maybe 6 or 10. We have groups of 20. They've been registering together because they want to take a course. And sometimes we can make it that, if you want a communications and you want it on Thursday, February the 1st, I don't know if that's really the date, but Thursday, February the 1st, if you have a group of more than 10, we can try and book that for you if it works for us as well. The other thing is that we can, if you have a group of 10, I mean, you can come to any of our live classes or independent courses, but if you have the names, I usually ask for that in advance, because then I'll put your learners all together with the same mentor. It just makes for that blended learning process of, feedback and progress and, making sure, I don't want to say keeping tabs, but yes, progress for each of your learners. So that's something that we suggest doing as well, is to maybe contact me if you have a group and you'd like to take one of our courses, especially if the time isn't convenient, if it's a live class. But again, those usually have to have over 10 learners. And I should say the other thing is that if you did have a group, we sometimes put in your group so that your learners can select the group, and then it kind of keeps them together in a nice little grouping, as well as giving them the same mentor. And last but not least, communication right now is so huge, right? I mean, I guess I'm a talker, so I like to call people. Like, I will email and email, and then finally I'll pick up the phone just to get things clarified, right? Clarification. And that's one of the biggest things, right? Because something I think that you might know, you don't know. And sometimes you can ask a lot more questions because one question fields another question and an answer, what have you. So if anything, if you ever have any questions, you can either email me or you can call me at this number. And if you press 1, you will get me directly. So that's it for registrations in a nutshell. I hope it looks easy. Um, and if you ever have any problems with it, then give me a shout.
Thanks, Sue. It's one of our mottos at GLA, actually, is just call Sue. If you have any questions, just call Sue. She's there, and she's picking up that phone, and always very helpful and knows all. So we do 100% recommend that if you have any questions. And some great comments there with regards to if you're going through and there's something that you see that's not, that you have an idea for your program, or you want a course for your program, please do reach out and to us. And maybe it's something that we do have access to it. We're just not advertising right now. Maybe it's something we can put together, those types of things. We're always looking at ways we can improve our programs for you. So if you don't see what you want, do give us a shout and let us know. And again, because things are changing so quickly, we definitely want to know what is needed by you guys as well. Okay, the most favorite part and everybody's favorite part of LBS. I know this is why everybody signed up for this particular piece, was to hear more about CAMS. But we did bring in our resident expert for this. If you do have any questions, do feel free to put those in text chat, because we're going to have a few minutes to do that after Robin presents. But we've asked Robin to come here because she is the person that's in CAMS every day. I wanted to ask her what some tips were and for blended learners. So now that you guys are in these classrooms and trying to figure out best ways of doing things, are there tips for you guys when you're working in CAMS on how blended learning can be put into CAMS, or how that best works for you in this new classroom that we have? So I'm going to turn it over to Robin. And Robin, you can just let me know when you want slides changed.
All right. Thank you, Linda. That's such an exciting introduction, the world of CAMS, everybody's favorite thing. So just before we do actually hit the dry stuff, I mean the good stuff, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Robin. I've been with GLA for 6 years, and I'm not as comfortable with presentations as my co-workers here, because I get to be behind the scenes for the most part. So I have a couple roles with Good Learning Anywhere. As the mentor support lead, I offer guidance and support to our online mentors with the task of providing learner plan details and documentation for our student information system, or our internal database. My role within database administration is to then translate all of that ministry mandated data provided by our clients and the mentors and enter it into CAMS on GLA's behalf. So I'm going to start by saying that Good Learning Anywhere has really been invested in the ministry's blended learning initiative for a little while now. In the fall of about 2019, we implemented a multi-step plan for our mentors to follow to help facilitate our partnerships with online practitioners. And Linda, you can flip the slide for this, in order to coordinate services with our mutual clients. With the recent developments in our world, the impact it has had on the literacy field and the changes it has created to the on-site learning environment, we're working really hard with to communicate better, to support our partners and give them information they need to follow along with that mutual learner, what they're accomplishing. So once a GLA mentor has been assigned a new client, one of the first things they will look for in the learner's file is, have they been given consent to share information? As Sue just mentioned, it is really important. If consent is there, that multi-step plan that you see on your screen will get set into motion. So for step one, when we welcome, when a mentor gets the new registrant, and they will send the welcome email. The practitioner is also copied on this email. It provides everyone with the details, like the name of their assigned GLA mentor, their contact information, some expectations for online learning, and when to expect log information and access to any of the courses they have chosen. Shortly thereafter is step 2. The practitioner will receive our blended learning information email from the GLA mentor, asking them to fill in a short form about our mutual client in order to strengthen the blended learning partnership in order to better support the learner. So some of the questions on the form might include, what is the learner working towards with the practitioner? What do they believe is the learner's learning style? Are there any learning challenges they would like us to know about? Is there any further information they would like to provide GLA so that we can better support this learner? And so it's really great if you can respond to filling in that form just to strengthen the relationships that we are trying to attain. Step 3, if and when our mutual learner completes a milestone in any of our online courses, our GLA blended learner milestone completed email is sent to the practitioner. This will share important details that the practitioner will need if they want to enter this information into CAMS as a shared milestone. And yes, I said shared milestone, so give a clap for that. The email includes milestone number and title. For example, milestone 54 is very common with us. It's log into a user account on a computer. The email will also include the milestone start date, the milestone end date, and for tracking sake, the GLA course that the milestone was attained in. It's really important to mention that practitioners will always receive these 3 emails when consent to share is given, but they can receive as much or as little information as they would like to from GLA simply by communicating that preference to the mentor that they are working with. So once again, communication and keeping in touch is so key so that everyone can benefit from the blended learning initiative. Okay, so we can move on to slide 2. So I mentioned in step 3, the great news is, yes, it is possible to share milestones between organizations to allow everyone to receive credit for services. In order to do this, practitioners will, so here comes the dry stuff, so everybody can buckle in. It might get a little bit technical, and I'll just start off by saying, if after this presentation you want to see my own personal slides and snapshots and stuff, I'll be more than happy to supply all that. So don't get too worried if you're not catching on quite right off the hop. So in order to enter a milestone and claim credit for you, the practitioner will need to take the information that they receive from the milestone email that we've provided and transfer that data into CAMS. So once you are in CAMS, you search for the learner by starting off by register a person, and then you create your own service plan, and you'll be able to enter that shared milestone in the plan content section of your own service plan. And this, you will select a sub goal in the plan content tab, and there will be a couple pop-up screens to help you create the competencies that are pertaining to the milestone. Once you select the appropriate sub goal, other pop-ups will occur, and I can share all that information with you if you want to receive it. Let's see. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is the modified plan item where you will add the milestone. And the keys for doing this is simply to click the blended learning box just more than a little below halfway on your screen. It's a box, and you just check that off. And that will indicate that it is a blended learning milestone. And also the difference will be in the delivery method. That may look different for each of your on-sites, whether it's in class, one-on-one, whatever you select. And in this case, you would select e-channel, which is right there on the slide as well. All right, so that is how you will establish in your learner plan or with CAMS that it is a blended learning initiative. You can go to the next slide for me, Linda. So there's also another helpful tip that I'd like to share is once you're in CAMS, you can look into whether your learner has other LBS service plans open that you may be unaware of. So you would go to your workspace and then you would go to register a person, just the first selection at the top. You would key in your client's name and do a search for them. If they already exist in the database, you just cross confirm that with other information such as the date of birth, just to make sure that you have the correct person. And then once you find that person, you click on the case reference number, which would be on the far left column in CAMS beside their name. And this will bring you to your Employment Ontario homepage for that learner. And in order to see all the service plans that the learner has been engaged in, you just scroll all the way down in CAMS where you can view all the active and closed plans. You also have access to viewing the milestones under these plans. And that's also important information. What I would recommend, though, if you do happen to see that your client is involved in another organization, that you contact your client and ask them if they're participating with other organizations, and ask them to contact them in order to provide the consent to share, so that you can benefit from any other milestones they might have attained with other organizations in the Blended Learning Initiative. So this would also open up the lines of communication with these other organizations, and to ensure that duplication of services is not happening as well. So that is really basically it for the CAMS portion of it. Like I said, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always contact me via email, and I'd be happy to do whatever I can to supply you with the answers, including giving you all the slides that I have and the screenshots that I have had set up for other presentations, and they will give you step-by-step on how to enter your blended learning milestone. And that's it for me. Good luck in
Awesome.
CAMSing.
Thank you, Robin, so much. We know that can be a long conversation about CAMS. And you do such a great job of kind of just breaking it down, and appreciate you coming and doing those. So I think what we'll do is, she does have some documents she's put together as while we're wrapping the slides up. And we'll send out the slides. I'll connect with Michelle and Sarah on how to do that. And then what we'll do is get those out to you, the slides and the documents as well, and some of the links we've talked about today. Okay, we've come to our hour, and I promised you I'd leave you with a challenge. So what we will do is this is my challenge for you guys this week, because, and some of you have already explored things, but for those that haven't, a couple of things that I thought might get us started on really exploring that opportunity for blended learning. And next week, we're going to talk about taking that out to the learners and some really unique ways we've seen that happen from different groups that we work with. But this week we thought, let's give you guys a chance to explore that a little bit as well. And so that you can kind of next week come back with some great ideas, because we're going to brainstorm together on some ways that can happen within your community. So this week's challenge for you guys is to go to our website and sign up for our newsletter. We promise we don't overwhelm you guys with information, but it's information that's important for you guys on upcoming events, more tips on blended learning, ways that you can kind of integrate some of that into your programs. If you haven't checked out any of our courses and you're like, wow, when Julie was talking about this course, I'd like to know, I think my learners would really like that, or that would work really well with this group I'm talking about, or maybe you're trying to connect with the community group, for sure, go in and connect with us, go through our registration so you know what it looks like, click that audit button that Sue talked about, and check out that course. Follow us on Facebook. One of the biggest tips we're going to have for you next week, which I shouldn't give away too much because I'm hoping you all come back next week, is you don't have to create your own content on Facebook. You can share stuff. We're always putting up posters and information, and Alpha Plus is a great website as well. CLO has a great website. ONLC is posting stuff. So by getting onto that Facebook and putting that stuff out to your community partners and your clients out there, that's starting to get that ball rolling on getting more people into the blended learning sphere. So follow us on Facebook, and then I'm going to encourage and invite you all and extend a warm welcome to you to join us next Monday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern to come join Candace. And I'm really excited about this because we were talking about cooking, and we've been asked for cooking classes for quite a while, and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And then I was watching CBC one night and I saw Candace. So Warren connected with her, and we're really excited to have her. We're really excited to have her join us and go through this. And it's going to be interactive, and she's going to be making 3 wonderful recipes as during the thing. So make sure to come join us. Share it with community partners or learners that might be interested, because I think especially right now, I don't know how about many of you guys, but I got that notification on my phone that sounds very scary: stay home. So this is something that people can join in and get that sense of community again. And by connecting with those learners that might not be able to leave their home right now, this is something they can do from home, and then you can follow up with them and start that conversation. And we're counting on you guys to create those relationships and do what you guys do so well. Really create that environment to learn for your client. And then the content's here, thousands and thousands of hours of content. So together we can hopefully find something that's going to work well with your clients. So there's our Facebook information, our phone number, our info. Any one of us here, I'm hoping that we came across that we're pretty approachable. And if you have questions, especially during these trying times as you're trying to set up programs or ideas going into the winter and in our Q4, it's an important time. Business planning, if you have questions in there of things you want to include, do reach out to us. Our information's there and we're happy to talk to you. So we'll stick around for a few minutes. If there are any questions, please feel free to stick around. I'm going to end the recording if I can figure out how to do that. Again, we're all learning. And if there's any questions, please feel free to stick around and ask.
I just missed the last screen, the email for Warren.
Oh, I'll put that back up for you there.
There it is. Thank you.
It's such a long email address. We are working on changing that, Arlene, I promise.
Linda, thank you so much for a highly informative and sticking to the time webinar. There's things in there that I didn't know, so I'm sure everybody got a lot of good things to help their students out of this, and I can't wait till the next one.
It's very, very, very beneficial. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, thank you, Arlene and Michelle. Yeah, it was really interesting connecting with my team. I learned things putting together this presentation, and I hope people come next week because I think there's some really neat opportunities there as well. And appreciate my team coming together to put this together because it's an important time for us all, right?
Yes, we all have to work together.
Yeah, so it was great to see some familiar faces. I do see some people popping in, and I'm wondering if maybe they're from the Central Time Zone that are coming in just for the thinking that we're about to stop. So I did see a couple people pop in. So just let me, if you're going to, so that it is over the presentation. So you can go up and you can click on leave or use the X in the top corner if you're going to leave. For those people that have just joined us, I'm just going to stop the recording and then we can talk to you about how you can find that. So.
Oh no, Linda, maybe you have to do this all over again for the Central.
Well, the funny thing is, Michelle, we've been online since 10 this morning. We're doing our mental health first aid online, and it ran right to like 1:15. So I think some of us are just like, we need to get up and move. Otherwise, we would. But yeah, I see, is it Althea has just maybe joined us? We
Oh,
wouldn't
my
mind. Thanks,
goodness.
Sandy.
Oh, well, I was on this morning at, I don't know what time, and it was before, because I forgot